The embassy stood in quiet defiance against the night, its lights glowing calmly while an invisible storm gathered around it. To the public, it was just another fortified building in a foreign capital, protected by concrete barriers and flags fluttering in still air. But far beyond its walls, something was moving with deliberate intent. A plan shaped in silence, funded in secrecy, and timed with ruthless precision, was inching toward execution. If it succeeded, the blast would not only shatter stone and glass, but ignite a geopolitical firestorm. No warning sirens would sound, no last-minute evacuation would occur. The attack was designed to be sudden, devastating, and symbolic. And for a brief moment in history, it was dangerously close to becoming reality. The first indication emerged thousands of miles away, inside a windowless operations floor where intelligence analysts monitored the world through data. Among millions of routine signals, a single transmission stood out, not because of its content but because of its absence. A familiar extremist communication channel went silent at the exact moment it should have been active. Silence, in intelligence work, is often louder than noise. Analysts flagged it, not yet knowing it marked the opening move of a coordinated operation. That silence aligned with an unrelated anomaly. A sudden surge in encrypted financial transfers routed through shell charities operating near diplomatic zones. Individually, these signals meant nothing. Together, they hinted at something being carefully concealed. Inside the intelligence environment, pressure grew quietly. Analysts began cross-referencing timelines, mapping financial flows against travel records, satellite imagery, and cyber traffic. A pattern emerged, faint but consistent. Individuals with no apparent connection were converging on the same city where a U.S. embassy sat at the center of diplomatic negotiations already strained by regional instability. These individuals avoided normal travel routes, using indirect paths and false identities refined through years of tradecraft. It was not the movement of refugees or traders, it was the movement of professionals. As days passed, signals intelligence picked up fragments of coded language moving through encrypted apps, known to be favored by terror facilitators. The phrases were innocuous on the surface, referencing construction schedules, deliveries, and routine maintenance. But linguistic analysts noticed subtle deviations, code substitutions used historically to mask operational planning. Cyber units traced metadata, discovering the messages originated from multiple countries but were synchronized to the same internal clock. Someone was coordinating across borders with precision. Satellite imagery added another layer, capturing late-night activity near abandoned industrial buildings outside the city. Heat signatures flared and faded at irregular intervals, suggesting testing or assembly work taking place under cover of darkness. The discovery phase intensified. Analysts built timelines, layering data until the picture sharpened. A vehicle linked to a known explosives courier crossed into the country weeks earlier, its cargo declared as agricultural equipment. Financial records showed payments routed to a construction subcontractor recently granted access near the embassy perimeter for renovation work. Meanwhile, cyber teams intercepted a corrupted file transfer containing architectural schematics remarkably similar to embassy layouts. The realization settled slowly, but heavily. This was not a protest or a lone wolf attack. It was a planned strike against a diplomatic symbol, engineered to send a message far beyond the blast radius. The CIA escalated immediately, forming a covert task force operating under maximum compartmentalization. Only a handful of people knew the full scope. Case officers with experience in urban counterterrorism were pulled from ongoing assignments. Analysts specializing in explosives, behavioral patterns, and regional politics joined cyber experts and surveillance specialists. Each brought fragments of expertise, none yet knowing how close the timeline might be. Meetings took place behind secured doors, phones left outside, decisions weighed against consequences measured in lives and international fallout. As the task force dug deeper, the clues grew darker. Surveillance teams observed secret meetings in cafes and prayer halls, where known extremists had never previously gathered. Drone feeds captured brief handoffs in alleyways near supply depots. An informant reported unusual interest in embassy security routines, disguised as casual conversation. Every movement suggested rehearsal, testing boundaries, probing defenses. The city continued its daily rhythm, unaware that beneath its streets a countdown was forming. Confirmation arrived through a convergence of intelligence streams. A deep cover asset intercepted a communication referencing the window, a term historically associated with attack timing. Signals intelligence confirmed a spike in encrypted traffic synchronized to embassy operating hours. Satellite imagery detected a delivery truck entering a restricted zone after midnight, staying just long enough to unload something heavy before departing empty. Analysts overlaid the data and saw it clearly now. The embassy attack was imminent, designed to occur during a diplomatic event scheduled to draw international attention. The threat was no longer theoretical. It was real, armed, and moving. The CIA faced a dilemma familiar only to those who operate in shadows. Stopping the attack openly could expose sources, compromise assets, and destabilize diplomatic relations. Waiting too long risked mass casualties and global repercussions. The response had to be invisible, precise, and final. Covert countermeasures began immediately. Cyber teams infiltrated communication channels, subtly delaying messages, injecting confusion without alerting the planners. Financial operations froze key accounts through indirect regulatory mechanisms, forcing last-minute logistical improvisation. Surveillance units tracked every suspect without making contact, building a complete map of the network. Meanwhile, technical specialists prepared silent sabotage options, identifying ways to neutralize explosives without triggering alarms or drawing attention. Tension escalated as the attack window narrowed. The task force operated around the clock, eyes red from fatigue, minds sharp with urgency. Every intercepted message was analyzed for subtext. Every movement near the embassy was scrutinized. The operation balanced on a knife's edge. One wrong move could trigger panic or accelerate the attack. Silence became strategy. The climax came not with explosions, but with revelation. A coordinated cyber breach exposed the full scope of the plot, revealing a previously unknown handler directing operations from outside the region. The handler's communications confirmed the attack method, a vehicle-borne explosive disguised as construction equipment, positioned to breach the embassy's outer perimeter during a scheduled maintenance window. The explosive yield was calculated to maximize structural damage and casualties while ensuring global media coverage. With minutes and hours now critical, the CIA executed the final phase. Through covert coordination with trusted local partners unaware of the larger picture, the vehicle was rerouted under the guise of a routine inspection. A remote failsafe planted earlier disabled the detonator without alerting its handlers. Simultaneously, cyber teams cut communication links, isolating operatives and preventing last-minute adjustments. Surveillance units watched as confusion spread through the network, their plan unraveling silently. By dawn, the threat was neutralized. No sirens sounded, no evacuation made headlines. The embassy opened as usual, diplomats arriving unaware of how close disaster had come. The operatives behind the plot were quietly detained or dispersed, their funding streams dismantled, their communications burned. The handler vanished into obscurity, his network exposed and rendered useless. Resolution came without celebration. Reports were filed, classified, and sealed. Assets were extracted, their contributions reduced to coded references in secure databases. The city moved on, never knowing it had stood at the center of a global crisis, narrowly avoided. To the public, nothing happened. And that was the point. In the quiet aftermath, intelligence officers reflected not on victory, but on responsibility. They understood that success in their world meant absence, not recognition. The embassy still stood, the streets still echoed with ordinary life, and international relations continued without the scar of tragedy. The hidden battle had been won precisely because it left no trace. In the end, this operation became another unseen chapter in the long, silent history of intelligence work. A reminder that the most important battles are fought without witnesses, and the most profound acts of courage occur in rooms without windows. The world remained unaware that history had nearly taken a darker turn. And somewhere, as analysts returned to their screens, they knew another anomaly would one day appear. Another whisper in the data, signaling the next threat waiting to be stopped before anyone ever knows it existed.